Peace, love, Goldn.Light. You're tuned into a guided journal session with me, Goldn.Light. So the purpose of these sessions is actually a way for me to help guide you through your thoughts as you're basically traveling within. Now, kind of thinking of it as a light or a spark. So a lot of times we have certain conversation or dialogue that helps us to kind of jumpstart our minds. And even though we are on separate journeys, we can still do this together by supporting each other, encourage each other, and also inspiring each other. So these guided sessions are to help those of you who are interested in journaling or have already been journaling and you're looking to expand your experience. So if this is something that you want to do and you don't know where to start, these sessions will be a great way to help you through that process. So before we get started, I do want to give you some things to remember when it comes to journaling. The first thing is that I don't want you to overthink. Second, forget about perfection and think more about intention, being intentional about what you want, what you're looking to release, or what you're looking to find or create. Just be intentional when it comes to writing. The third thing is that don't feel pressure or try to find a way to do things right. Just be authentic and be you. And then the last thing is, of course, to have fun. This is going to be an experience for you, and just know that there's different parts of it, just the same way as different parts of yourself. You may discover something through writing that you absolutely love, and then you may have moments through your journey where you feel very low. So just know that to embrace all things that come, but just remember to have fun as well. For this session, of course, you're going to need something to write with, like a pen or pencil, and of course a notebook, journal, or if you don't have that yet, grab some paper. But definitely try to get a journal so that you can kind of be consistent with writing and you have a place where all of that is contained. Before we get started and before we get into writing, I want you guys to take a couple deep breaths with me. So let's go ahead and just relax our body and relax our mind. Breathing does a lot, okay? So let's do that first. So we'll take a deep breath and exhale. Let's do another one. And let's go ahead and do one more. Inhale. And exhale. Breathing, like I said, always helps me to feel relaxed. And a lot of times before I actually get into writing, I do go into a meditation or allow myself to be still for a little bit before I start to get into writing. Other times, I'll tell you, it's not always like that. It's like, I got to get this off my chest, and I just go right into writing, and then I reflect after. So the first thing with me when it comes to journaling, this may not be your thing, but hear me out. I think it's very important that you write out the date and the time, but at least the date. That way you have a receipt on things that you have written, said, and it's easier for you to kind of look at the timestamp when you do go back to reread your journal entries or you're reflecting on things from the past that you have written. So you just want to go ahead anywhere, however you want to do it. This is your creativity, your space. I don't care if you write the date at the bottom, the top, just somewhere that you know that you can get to. Make every part of this journal experience you, okay? So you want to go ahead and write the date and the time. I'm going to ask a series of questions that I want you to think about. However your mind guides you when you're listening, that's what I want you to kind of go through and start to write. Now, if you need a moment to like pause the video, you could definitely do that. Or if you just kind of want to flow through it and see where your mind takes you, definitely do that. Let's go ahead and get started. Define fear. What does fear even mean to you? A lot of times, in order for us to fully understand things that we're doing, or in this case, things that we're afraid of, to understand the definition of it. What does it mean for you? How things show up in our life affects us differently from other people, okay? So what does fear mean to you? What are you afraid of? Now, this can mean anything, but I want you to write it out. Even if it's as simple as I'm fearful of spiders, right? It is important that we use our past experiences and even current situations to better understand things about ourselves. Why we do certain things, why we react a certain way. This will help us try to recognize certain patterns that we have in our life. And if it's a pattern that is not beneficial to our growth, we kind of got to go back in and try to rewire or rework that pattern. Okay? So use your past or current situation of where you found yourself showing a lot of fear, and reflect about the things that you've done, the things that you said, who was involved. Was there a heavy influence that you had during this time? Think about those things. Allow yourself to be outside of yourself for a second, okay? Now, if I was to watch myself, you kind of sometimes watch a little different. You know, sometimes you may pass more judgment when you're observing, or you can gain understanding to be an observer, right? So I want you to use this observer moment to cast no judgment, but seek for the understanding within yourself. So take a moment to reflect. Was it a relationship? Was it starting a business? Was it getting a new job? Whatever that experience is where you felt yourself fearful, let's use that experience as a way to kind of get deeper into why we have certain fear. I'm going to give you a moment to reflect about that and write about that right now. So as you're thinking about this experience, it is okay during your journaling session if you have moments where you stop writing and you sit still. I do this a lot. I will kind of write everything that I'm feeling and I'm thinking, and then once it's kind of out and released, I just sit still. In those stillness, you then sometimes are led to write more because there's more things that you're thinking about. So right along the topic of fear, once you have discovered or you see that example that you can use to go into this issue more, I want you to write out different ways that you were affected. Were you involved with someone or around people who kind of inflicted their fear on you and you took hold of it? Or did you have this fear that you generated and put out towards other people? Were you speaking to someone that discouraged you? What is the root of your fear? A lot of times we realize that our fear didn't just happen from yesterday. You know, our fears sometimes have been embedded in us since we are a child. And sometimes even going back to moments, if you're allowing yourself to go that far back to revisit a time when you were even young to see what this fear looked like back then. My fear sometimes, a lot of times, comes from my fear of making mistakes. So sometimes I have this I gotta be perfect complex. But where did this come from? Was it something that I picked up? Was it learned? Did I observe it somewhere else? So these are some things that I think about in order to find out, where is this coming from? For me to rid it and even try to affirm it being gone, for me it is better that I understand what it is, where it came from, and then use those moments to say, okay, we don't have to continue like this. Journaling is all a process. We're using this to get to the root of our issue, but even once we get to the root, there's still more work that we have to put in, okay? So don't quit when you get to the root. As we work through getting to the root, I'm definitely going to help you and encourage you to find solutions so that you can start moving towards the life that you want and the person that you truly know that you are. A lot of times we're stopping ourselves. We're right in front of ourselves, and the reason why we're not able to elevate is because the things that we're doing to ourselves. So we are able to control our actions, our words, everything that's dealing with ourselves, and that's the point of us going within in order to find out what's going on.